This video is about Amaterasu restores light but shadow returns. If this myth excites you, please like the video, share it with friends, and write in the comments how it pulled you into the adventure. In the time when gods walked among men and the earth still to tremble beneath the weight of the divine, the realm of Takamegahara flourished in ethereal light. At its heart stood Amaterasu, the sun goddess, radiant and resplendent, illuminating the skies with her golden beams. Her laughter was the melody of dawn, bringing warmth and life to all that existed beneath her gaze. Yet, even in this paradise, shadows lingered, whispering ancient tales of betrayal and dread. But one fateful day, a sinister prophecy emerged from the depths of the darkened abyss, a warning that the shadows, long banished, would return to cast a pall upon the world. A great beast called Yomi, imprisoned within the darkest corners of the void, stared with restless hunger beneath the earth. Ancient texts foretold the return of this creature, heralding an era of despair should it ever escape its eternal prison. Among the divine council, Tsukayomi, the moon god, sat in silence, a brooding figure cloaked in silver shadows. His eyes, pools of sorrow, reflected the tides of fate that were beginning to turn. "Sister," he spoke, his voice echoing like the haunting howl of a winter wind, the balance of light and dark hangs by a thread. "We must prepare for the coming storm." Amaterasu, with her brilliant countenance, regarded him with concern. "We have kept the darkness at bay for eons. We must not falter now." Her spirit burned with fierce determination, yet a flicker of trepidation danced within her heart. The council convened, divine beings from every corner of the cosmos gathering beneath Amaterasu' sacred light. Hachiman, the war god, stood tall, his mighty armor glinting like stars in the twilight. "Let us summon our finest warriors," he declared. "We shall not wait for the beast to rise, we will strike first." As the gods rallied their champions, a young warrior named Kaito was chosen to lead the charge. His spirit was forged in honor, and his blade, forged with divine fire, gleamed with the promise of valor. "I shall serve the light," he pledged, kneeling before Amaterasu. "With my life, I will protect our realm from the return of Yomi." Yet the darkness had its own plans. From the shadows, a figure emerged, a sorceress known as Kurohana, once a favorite servant of Amaterasu, whose heart had been twisted by envy. "Foolish gods," her voice hissed like venomous smoke. "You think you can stave off the inevitable. The shadows will rise again, and with them, I shall reclaim my power." Kurohana's betrayal echoed throughout the sacred halls as she unleashed an army of spectral warriors, shadows ripped from the very fabric of the void. The sky darkened as her legions surged forth, a tide of despair crashing against the radiance of Amaterasu' light. In a moment of desperation, Amaterasu looked upon her brother Tsukayomi. "We must unite our powers," she urged, her golden glow flickering against Kurohana's encroaching darkness. Tsukayomi hesitated, his heart heavy with doubt. "Can we truly control the shadows if we merge our essences?" he questioned. "Together, we can create a barrier strong enough to contain the darkness," she reassured him, her voice steady as a mountain. "For the fate of our world, we must try." With a nod, Tsukayomi extended his hand, and Amaterasu took it, their energies intertwining in a blinding explosion of light. As the two divinities merged, the skies erupted into a brilliant aurora, illuminating the battlefield and pushing back the tide of shadows, if only for a fleeting moment. Kaito, emboldened by the dazzling spectacle, rallied his warriors, their spirits ignited with renewed hope. "For Amaterasu, for the light," he cried, raising his sword high. The warriors surged forward, their weapons glinting like stars against the darkened enemy. Yet Kurohana, fueled by malice, summoned Yomi from the depths of darkness. The ground trembled as the beast, a monstrous amalgamation of shadows and despair, clawed its way into the realm of the living. Its eyes burned with an insatiable hunger, and its roar echoed like a funeral dirge, striking terror into the hearts of even the bravest warriors. The battle raged, the clash of steel and the cries of the fallen rising in a cacophony of chaos. Kaito fought valiantly, his sword singing through the air, slicing through the spectral warriors that fell before him. But as he turned to face Yomi, he felt the weight of destiny pressing upon his soul. "Face me, beast," Kaito bellowed, adrenaline coursing through his veins. Yomi's gaze locked onto him, a predator sizing up its prey. In that moment, Kaito felt the burden of honor and sacrifice pulsing through him. He knew that to protect his people, he must confront this embodiment of darkness. With a primal scream, the warrior charged at Yomi, his blade aimed true. But the shadows coiled around the beast, deflecting his strike and sending him hurtling backwards. The ground beneath him cracked and splintered, a chasm of despair yawning wide. "Foolish mortal," Yomi's voice boomed, a mixture of thunder and sorrow. "You think you can challenge the darkness? I am the end of all light." The beast lunged, the dark tendrils reaching out to ensnare Kaito. Just as despair threatened to consume him, Kaito caught a glimpse of Amaterasu light in the distance, still battling against the encroaching darkness. "I will not yield," he shouted, summoning every ounce of strength and hope within him. "I fight for the light, for my people." With a surge of determination, Kaito rolled to his feet, evading Yomi's grasp. He remembered the words of the elders: "Light is born from the struggle against darkness." In that instant, he understood that hope is a weapon, and he would wield it fiercely. Taking a deep breath, Kaito summoned the radiant energy that pulsed within him. Raising his sword to the heavens, he called upon Amaterasu light, pouring his heart into the blade. "Let my body be a vessel of your light," he declared, the air around him shimmering with divine energy. As Yomi advanced, Kaito charged forward, a beacon of hope blazing through the darkness. With a mighty swing, he struck, the blade glowing with the essence of Amaterasu as it cleaved through the shadowy tendrils, creating a burst of brilliance that echoed through the battlefield. But Kurohana, watching from afar, felt the tide turning. With a flick of her wrist, she conjured a vortex of shadows, swirling around herself in a tempest of despair. "You think light can win, you know nothing of true power," she spat, her eyes aflame with fury. The vortex unleashed a torrent of darkness, swallowing warriors whole and filling the air with cries of despair. Kaito felt the weight of dread settle upon his heart as shadows began to engulf the fallen. "No," he yelled, pushing against the encroaching dark, fighting against the whispers of hopelessness that sought to claim him. As Amaterasu and Tsukayomi battled the darkness overhead, a rift opened between realms, the gateway to Yomi's dominion. The air grew thick with tension, and the very fabric of reality seemed to tremble. "We must seal the rift," Tsukayomi shouted, but Kurohana's magic flowed like venom, thwarting their every effort. In that moment, Kaito understood that his quest was more than mere survival, it was a test of the spirit. He charged towards Kurohana, his heart ablaze with purpose. "You cannot extinguish the light," he called, his voice resonating with the power of the gods. "I will fight for my people, for all who dwell in the light." With every ounce of strength, Kaito launched himself at the sorceress, his sword poised to strike. The shadows called round him, but he pushed through, anchored by the belief that light could triumph over darkness. As he drew near, Kurohana's eyes widened with realization, and for a fleeting moment, fear flickered across her features. The ground shook as Kaito clashed with Kurohana, their powers colliding in a whirlwind of light and shadow. The battlefield erupted in chaos, as warriors fought valiantly against the dark tide, their fates interwoven with Kaito's desperate struggle. In the heart of the storm, hope flickered like a fragile flame, and destiny hung in the balance. Would the warriors' sacrifice be enough to restore the dawn, or would the shadows once again engulf the world, leaving only despair in their wake? Thus began this saga of light and darkness, a timeless tale of honor, tragedy, and the fierce and yielding spirit of those who dared to fight against the inevitable. As the battlefield erupted into chaos, the roars of Yomi mingled with anguished cries of the fallen. Kaito, his heart pounding like a war drum, felt the weight of destiny pressing upon him with an unbearable force. Clashing against Kurohana's dark magic, he pushed back against the tide of despair that threatened to consume him. "Do you see your fate, child of light?" Kurohana hissed, her voice swirling around him like a poisonous mist. "Even now, your precious warriors falter. They will fall, and with them, your hope." With every ounce of his strength, Kaito countered her dark energy with the glowing blade of Amaterasu. "Hope is not a fleeting thought, it is a fire that burns within us all," he declared, pushing against the suffocating shadows. "You will not extinguish it." As their powers collided, a shockwave erupted, sending shockwaves through the ranks of both warriors and shadows. Kaito's allies, inspired by their leader's defiance, surged forward, rallying around him like moths drawn to a flame. Each warrior felt the flicker of hope reigniting as they fought to reclaim their homeland. Meanwhile, high above, Amaterasu and Tsukayomi engaged in their own battle against Kurohana's dark veil. "Sister, we can't hold this barrier much longer." Tsukayomi strained against the onslaught, his silver light flickering against the encroaching shadows. "Then we must draw from our essence," Amaterasu shouted back, her golden aura flaring ever brighter. "We are one, together. We are the dawn that banishes the night." With a nod, Tsukayomi intertwined his light with hers, their powers surging forth in a radiant beam that cut through the darkness. Yet Kurohana, sensing the shift in the balance, unleashed a torrent of shadows, swirling like a violent storm. "Enough of this charade," she shrieked, summoning her spectral warriors. Their forms coalesced into an army of despair, an unending tide of darkness that threatened to drown even the bravest souls. "The time has come to end your light." As Kaito continued his relentless struggle against Kurohana, he felt the shadowy tendrils lashing against him, seeking to ensnare his spirit. I will not succumb, he roared, his voice a rallying cry for the warriors rallying behind him. I fight not just for myself, but for every soul who believes in the light's return. At that moment, Kaito's soul glowed with the brilliance of 1,000 suns, empowered by the collective hope of his kin. A surge of energy flowed through him, fueling his resolve as he pressed onward, carving a path through the dark waters that surrounded him. Yet Kurohana was relentless. She conjured a monstrous shadow, twisting and writhing until it took the form of a fearsome beast, a creature born from pure malice. Face your doom, she howled, the beast lunging toward Kaito with a roar that echoed through the battlefield. Kaito's heart raced as he met the beast's charge, the ground trembling beneath them. I will not falter, he shouted, raising his sword high, the blade shining brighter than the sun. In a fateful clash, he met the beast's fangs with his own weapon. The impact sent shockwaves through the air, and as steel met shatter, Kaito felt the very essence of the light within him push back the darkness. The spectral warriors faltered, their forms flickering as fear took root in their hearts. Best attack, Kaito called, his voice igniting the spirits of his comrades. They surged forward, emboldened by their leader's defiance, pushing back against the shadowy tide. But Kurohana was not finished. Her fury unleashed, she summoned the full wrath of Yomi, the beast roaring in unison with her dark magic. You think you can win? She spat, her eyes blazing with hatred. I am the night that swallows the day. Feel the dips of despair. With a wave of her hand, she unleashed a flurry of dark tendrils, wrapping around Kaito and his closest allies. The shadows choked the light from their hearts, casting them into a nightmarish realm where hope withered. Kaito gritted his teeth, fighting against the encroaching dark that threatened to pull him under. Remember why we fight, he roared, his voice cutting through the suffocating despair. We fight for each other, for those who cannot fight for themselves. Through sheer will, Kaito summoned the warmth of Amaterasu' light. He envisioned the faces of his people, their hopes and dreams, and drew upon that strength. I will be the beacon in this dark night, he declared, breaking free from the shadow's grip. He turned to his warriors, determination igniting their spirits once more. We will not yield, together. We are stronger than the darkness. With renewed vigor, Kaito led the charge against Kurohana, his sword slicing through the vortex of shadows. The battlefield became a tapestry of light and dark, the struggle between hope and despair playing out in a furious clash of wills. As Kaito fought valiantly, Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi continued their celestial battle. We must seal the rift before it consumes us all, Tsukuyomi urged, his voice strained as he conjured a barrier of silver raised to hold back Kurohana's dark magic. Amaterasu nodded, summoning the power of the dawn. I can feel the rift weakening. We must strike at its core. With unwavering resolve, she focused all her energy into a single, brilliant blast, a ray of pure light aimed at the heart of the darkness. As the two divine siblings combined their powers, a radiant beam of light shot forth, illuminating the night and banishing shadows that clung to the battlefield. But Kurohana would not relent easily. Foolish gods, she snarled, her voice dripping with venom. You cannot control what you do not understand. In a final act of desperation, she unleashed a wave of shadows so vast that it threatened to swallow the very light Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi had summoned. The clash of light and dark reached a fever pitch, the ground shaking beneath the titanic struggle. Kaito saw the shadows closing in around his allies, their hope teetering on the brink of despair. He could feel the burden of their lives resting on his shoulders, and in that moment, he understood the true weight of honor. I will not let our light falter, Kaito called, rallying every ounce of strength within him. He charged towards Kurohana with unwavering determination, knowing that this was a battle not just for survival, but for the very spirit of humanity. Face me, witch, he declared, gripping his sword as he charged through the dark tide. The shadows roared in fury as they tried to engulf him, but Kaito pressed on, emboldened by the flickering flame of hope. In a moment of clarity, Kaito saw the heart of the shadowy tempest, the essence of Kurohana's darkness coalescing. This ends now, he shouted, raising his blade high, channeling all the light within him into a single, devastating strike. As he swung down, the sword met the dark heart, a brilliant flash illuminating the battlefield. The clash resonated like the explosion of 1,000 suns, pushing back the shadows and sending a shockwave of light cascading across the land. Kurohana let out a piercing scream, the shadows riding violently around her as the light consumed them. No, this cannot be, she howled, despair echoing in her voice as the light swallowed her dark magic whole. With one final burst of brilliance, the shadows dissipated, vanished back into the void. The battlefield fell silent, warriors pausing to behold the transformation as light reclaimed the land. Kaito, panting and weary, fell to his knees as the last remnants of darkness fled. The sky above shimmered with the colors of dawn, a glorious rebirth after the storm. He felt the warmth of Amaterasu light wrap around him, and he looked up to see the sun goddess descending from the heavens, her brilliance illuminating the battlefield. "My brave warrior," she whispered, her voice tender like the first rays of dawn. "You have fought valiantly and restored hope to our world. Your honor and perseverance have prevailed." Tears of relief flooded Kaito's eyes as he gazed upon his comrades, their faces illuminated by the dawn. "We fought together, and together we shall rebuild," he vowed, knowing that this victory was but the beginning of a new chapter. Yet, as the shadows receded, deep within the recesses of the void, a sinister whisper echoed, a promise of vengeance waiting to rise once more. "This darkness will not be forgotten." The world sighed in relief, but the heart of the abyss pulsed with malevolence, waiting for the moment when shadows would return. Thus, the tale of Amaterasu and her champions continued, a saga woven with bits of light and dark, honor and tragedy, destined to echo through the ages, a timeless reminder that even in the face of despair, the human spirit could shine brighter than the darkest night. As dawn broke over the battlefield, the remnants of the great war against darkness faded into whispers of memory carried on the wind. Kaito, weary but resolute, rose from the ground, the weight of victory settling heavy upon his shoulders. The radiant light of Amaterasu enveloped him, healing wounds that ran deeper than mere flesh. Around him, the warriors of Takamagahara rallied, each face a testament to their shared struggle, their spirits ignited anew by the glow of hope. Yet, as the sky brightened, Kaito felt an unsettling chill brush against his skin. It was a sensation that crept into his heart, whispering fears long buried. Shadows have retreated for now, but they had not been vanquished. He could sense their lingering presence, looking just beyond the periphery of light. "My brave champion," Amaterasu spoke, descending gracefully to stand amidst her warriors. Her golden hair flowed like cascading rays of sun, illuminating even the darkest corners of the battlefield. "You have avenged the light, but darkness is a cunning foe. We must remain vigilant." "Your light is strong, goddess," Kaito replied, his voice steady despite the tremors of uncertainty that quaked within him. "But I fear Kurohana's betrayal may have awakened something far darker than we realize." I felt the shadows writhe beneath the surface, waiting for a chance to strike again. Tsukuyomi, stepping forward, nodded, his silver gaze piercing and contemplative. "The prophecy spoke of shadows returning, but we thought them vanquished for an age. We must not allow ourselves to be lulled into complacency." "Complacency is the seed of sorrow," Hachiman, the war god, interjected, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. "We must prepare for what lies ahead. Kurohana's dark sorcery has not waned, it merely simmers. We should begin forging alliances while we have the strength." The atmosphere shifted, rippling with determination as the gods and warriors began to strategize. They convened beneath the sacred tree of Takamagahara, its roots deep in the earth, its branches reaching for the heavens, a living symbol of hope. But even as plans formed, Kaito felt the shadows of doubt gathering within him, swirling like a tempest. Days turned into weeks as the gods rallied their forces, forging alliances with other realms. Under the guidance of Amaterasu, emissaries were sent to the distant lands of Hades, seeking the support of the underworld spirits. Kaito, restless and eager, volunteered to lead the envy, an act of bravery that masked the flicker of fear within him. "Why do you seek the underworld?" Tsukuyomi asked as he watched Kaito prepare for his journey. "To forge bonds of light," Kaito replied, gripping the hilt of his sword tightly. "Even those who dwell in darkness may yet understand the value of light. We cannot fight this battle alone." "Then take my blessing with you," Tsukuyomi offered, raising his hands to channel a silvery aura that enveloped Kaito. "May the night guide you safely through the shadows." With a nod of gratitude, Kaito set forth, crossing into the realm of Hades, a land shrouded in perpetual twilight. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding as he traversed the desolate landscape. Shadows danced across the ground, whispering secrets and sorrows, but Kaito pressed on, driven by the flicker of hope within him. At the gates of Hades, he was met by a figure cloaked in darkness, the enigmatic Hades himself, the god of the underworld. His voice was deep and resonant, echoing through the air like the tolling of a distant bell. "Why does a child of the light seek me in my domain?" he asked, his gaze unwavering. Kaito stepped forward, determination coursing through him like a river. "Great Hades, I seek your aid. A darkness stirs beneath our realm, and we need your strength to combat the threat that looms over us." Hades studied him for a moment, the intensity of his gaze piercing through Kaito's resolve. "And what do you offer in return? The dead do not rise for free, child." "Not for myself, but for our kin," Kaito replied, his voice steady. "I promise that the light will honor those who dwell in the shadows. Together, we can ensure that despair does not return." Hades considered this, the shadows around him swirling in contemplation. Very well, I shall lend you my spirits, but know this light and darkness are intertwined. Should you falter, you may find that the darkness may consume you. I will not falter, Kaito pledged with conviction, sealing the bond with the god of the underworld. As the pact was forged, spirits began to emerge from the shadows warriors of old, ghosts drawn to Kaito's light, ready to fight for a cause greater than themselves. As Kaito returned to Takamegahara with the spirits of the underworld, he was met with cheers and gratitude. The warriors of the realm gathered, bolstered by the presence of ethereal allies and eager to face the encouraging darkness together. Yet even amid the celebrations, Kaito felt shadows lurking at the edges of his mind, a darkness that gnawed at his heart. Days turned to months as they trained, fortifying defenses and strategizing their next steps. Kaito fought alongside his comrades, every swing of his sword a reminder of the burden he bore, the weight of their hopes upon his shoulders. Yet the whispers of doubt persisted, shadowing his every victory. One fateful night, as the moon hung high above the realm, Kaito found himself unable to sleep. He wandered to the sacred tree, seeking solace in its ancient roots. The whispers of the wind carried tales of the past, of battles fought and sacrifices made. Beneath the tree's sheltering branches, he encountered Tsukuyomi, the moon god, who appeared as a silver spectre against the dark sky. You are troubled, Kaito, Tsukuyomi observed, his voice soft like the night breeze. What weighs upon your soul? The darkness, Tsukuyomi, Kaito admitted, gazing into the depths of the shadows. I fear it is not merely a force to be defeated. It is a mirror reflecting our own despair. The more I fight, the more I realize how easily light can wane. Tsukuyomi's eyes held a wisdom born from ages past. Remember, Kaito, that true strength lies not in the absence of fear, but in the courage to face it. You are not alone in this battle. The light you wield is a beacon for all who believe. As their conversation deepened, a sudden tremor rippled through the ground, interrupting their exchange. What is happening? Kaito asked, alarmed, as the earth shook beneath them. Tsukuyomi's expression turned grave. The shadows stir anew. Kurohana's malevolence has awakened Yomi once more. We must gather our forces. A cacophony erupted across Takamegahara as the warriors prepared for battle. Kaito's heart raced, the flicker of fear igniting into a blaze of determination. The time had come to face the darkness that threatened to engulf them all. As dusk descended, the sky split with thunder, and Yomi emerged, a colossal figure wreathed in shadows, its eyes burning with an insatiable hunger. The battlefield echoed with the clash of steel against shadow as warriors fought valiantly to hold the line. Kaito, emboldened, stepped forward, a flicker of Amaterasu light guiding his path. Warriors of the light, he bellowed, raising his sword high. We stand united against the void. Fight for your kin, fight for your families, and let our light shine bright against the darkness. With renewed vigor, they surged forward, a tide of hope crashing upon the monstrous figure of Yomi. Kaito charged, his blade aglow, a beacon cutting through the shadowy tendrils that sought to ensnare him. You will not take our light, he shouted, his voice rising above the din of battle. The clash of Yomi's dark claws against his sword sent shockwaves through the air, but Kaito pressed on, fueled by the indomitable spirit of his comrades. In that moment, he could feel the power of Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi surging within him, a mingling of light and moonlight that made his heart race with unyielding fervor. Kurohana, he shouted, searching for the source of darkness. Face me, and know the strength of the light. With a furious roar, Yomi lunged, and Kaito rolled beneath its grasp, springing back to his feet. The air crackled with tension as he darted towards the source of Kurohana's dark magic, determined to confront the sorceress herself. But as he approached, he felt a shiver run down his spine, a whisper of betrayal echo through the air, a remembrance of Kurohana's twisted heart. You still believe in light? Kurohana sneered from the shadows, her voice dripping with malice. You cannot fight the inevitable. I will fight until my last breath, Kaito declared, summoning the light within him. For every soul that believes in the dawn, I will not falter. With a mighty swing, he charged, light cascading around him. As Kaito's blade sliced through the air, a brilliant surge of light erupted, illuminating the shadowy battlefield where despair had threatened to reign. The very ground trembled beneath the weight of Yomi's malevolence, the darkness pooling like an ocean of sorrow. Yet the air crackled with the fervor of the warriors, their spirits ignited by Kaito's defiance. Stand tall, my brothers and sisters. Kaito roared, his voice a clarion call amidst the chaos. This is our moment, we are the light that pierces the dark. He charged forward, his blade glimmering as it met the oncoming tide of shadowy tendrils. With every strike, he felt the weight of hope riding on his shoulders, a collective dream of peace and light pushing him ever forward. Yet amid the clash of metal and the anguished cries of battle, Kirohana watched from the fringes, her heart blackened by jealousy and rage. "Foolish mortals," she spat, her voice laced with venom. "Your light cannot hold against the primordial force of Yomi. You are but sparks in the void." With a fluid motion, she raised her hands, weaving dark energy into a tempest. Shadows swirled, gathering into grotesque forms that lunged at Kaito's warriors, seeking to snuff out their flickering hope. "Yomi, unleash the depths of despair," she commanded, and a low rumble echoed as Yomi's monstrous maw opened wide, revealing jagged teeth that shone like obsidian. Kaito felt the ground tremble beneath him. "No," he shouted, parrying the tendrils that reached for him. "We will not be consumed." With a fierce determination, he focused on the warmth of Amaterasu's light within him, channeling it into his sword. He became a whirlwind of golden fury, striking back against the darkness with all his might. All around him, warriors surged forward, the unity shining brighter than any individual spark. Hachiman fought valiantly at Kaito's side, his sword gleaming like a beacon. "Together, we shall drive back the shadows," he bellowed, cleaving through the dark warriors that sought to engulf them. As Kaito's group pressed forward, Kirohana's shadows writhed in fury, an echo of her own torment. "You think mere mortals can defy the darkness?" she bellowed, a voice slicing through the din of battle. "You are nothing but fleeting whispers in my storm. Then we shall become a tempest." Kaito shouted back, rallying the warriors around him. They charged toward Kirohana, their swords raised high, glowing with the strength of their resolve. With a united front, they confronted the sorceress, refusing to yield to her malignance. "Feel the true power of despair," Kirohana screeched, unleashing her dark magic in a torrent that surged toward the courageous warriors. Shadows writhed like serpents, striking at their hearts, seeking to sow seeds of doubt and fear. But Kaito felt the power of his companions beside him, each one driven by the same fire that burned in his own heart. He surged forward, thrusting his blade into the wave of darkness. "We are the light, we will not be extinguished." With a mighty war cry, Kaito swung his sword, creating a blinding barrier of light that pushed back the shadows. The air shimmered with hope, illuminating the despair that had once threatened to consume them. In that moment, Kirohana faltered, her eyes wide with disbelief as she witnessed the fierce unity of the warriors. "Enough," she howled, summoning the full wrath of Yomi. The ground quaked violently, and the beast towered over them, a living embodiment of darkness unleashed. "You will know true fear." Kaito felt the ground tremble beneath the weight of Yomi's presence. "We will face this fear together," he shouted, his voice unwavering in a face of terror. "Warriors, gather your strength." With renewed resolve, the warriors pressed forward. Kaito led the charge, weaving through the chaos, dodging dark tendrils aimed to ensnare him. As he fought, each strike of his sword resonated with the battle cry of his heart for Amaterasu, for the light. Yet, Yomi surged, its dark claws slashing toward him with a ferocity that sent shockwaves through the air. Kaito rolled underneath the strike, feeling the wind of the monster growl whip past him. He regained his footing and, with a surge of adrenaline, lunged toward the beast, thrusting his sword toward its shadowy form. "Face me, Ancient One," Kaito shouted, channeling the warmth of Amaterasu's light, which flickered within him like a flame against the night. The blade of his sword glowed brightly, a beacon guiding his path through the encroaching darkness. Yomi recoiled, its monstrous form flashing with shadows. "You are a fleeting whisper, a mere mortal," it snarled, its voice echoing like thunder. "You cannot hope to challenge the abyss." Kaito felt the power of the warriors rallying behind him, their spirits intertwining with his own. "But together, we are stormed," he roared, his voice infused with incandescent energy. In a swift motion, he swung his sword toward the beast, unleashing a wave of light that collided with Yomi's darkness. The impact sent shockwaves through the battlefield, causing both allies and enemies to stagger. Amidst the chaos, Kirohana's laughter echoed, a cruel melody that danced across the battlefield. "You think this fight is over? Darkness breeds darkness," she shrieked, and with a wave of her hand, she summoned more spectral warriors from the void, their forms an endless tide of despair that crashed against Kaito and his allies. "We will not be overwhelmed," Kaito shouted, rallying his comrades. "Fight for the light, fight for your families." The warriors surged forward, their swords aglow with resolve, defying the encroaching shadows. As the battle raged on, Kaito felt the shadows clawing at him, whispering taunts of hopelessness. He fought against the despair threatening to swallow him whole, calling upon the strength of Amaterasu's light. "I embrace my fear," he roared, swinging his sword with renewed vigor. With each strike, he felt himself drawing closer to an ancient truth: darkness could not exist without light, and every battle fought against the shadows forged a brighter dawn. Push forward, Kaito shouted, his voice booming above the clamor of battle. Fight for our future, for the light that guides us. As they pressed on, Hachiman turned to Kaito, his expression fierce and determined. We are the architects of our own fate. Let us carve it into the very fabric of the universe. The warriors surged together, a torrent of light and determination that swept through the ranks of shadowy foes, forcing Kurohana back. But the sorceress, driven by rage, conjured the full force of her dark magic, a tempest that threatened to engulf them all. Witness my power, Kurohana screamed, her voice mingling with the dark winds that whipped around her. You will know the true meaning of despair. The shadows called around Kaito and his comrades, darkness threatening to snuff out their light. But Kaito felt a spark within him, the unwavering flicker of hope that had carried him through the darkest moments. Together, he cried, raising his sword high. We will not yield. The warriors united, forming a barrier of light against the oncoming tide. Kaito, channeling every ounce of strength, swung his sword in an arc that illuminated the darkness. The light surged, pushing back against Kurohana's dark magic, and for a brief moment the shadows quivered, uncertainty creeping into Kurohana's heart. Now is our chance! Kaito shouted, rallying the warriors. With a collective roar, they surged forward, breaking through the remnants of darkness with a fierce determination. Kurohana, realizing her defeat was imminent, unleashed one final wave of shadows, a desperate act of malice that sought to consume them all. You will not escape your fate, she screeched, her voice filled with venom. But Kaito understood the strength that lay within their unity, the unbreakable bond that had formed amidst the chaos. We are the dawn, he shouted, igniting the last reserves of power within him. As he charged forward, the light of Amaterasu enveloped him, a blazing inferno illuminating the dark corners of the battlefield. With a mighty swing, he struck at Kurohana, his sword glowing with the essence of the light. Your darkness ends here, he declared, and the impact sent shockwaves through the air, a blinding flash that engulfed them all. As the light consumed Kurohana's darkness, a scream pierced the air, echoing with sorrow and rage. The shadows writhed and twisted, unable to withstand the brilliance of hope. With one final burst of energy, the darkness shattered, dispersing into the ether, leaving only silence in its wake. Kaito fell to his knees, breathless but triumphant, the weight of their victory settling around him like a warm embrace. The battlefield lay still, the once looming shadows vanished into the depths of the void.